Hi guys, Christian Chi Trend here, and this is the channel for unlocking your universal energy potential. In this week's video, I've entitled it, The Way Out is In. And that's actually the heading for a chapter in the book Inner Engineering by Sadhguru, who's an amazing guy, one of my favorite people in the world. And I really recommend you check out some of his videos on YouTube or read some of his books. But what I'm essentially driving at with The Way Out is In is that happiness is created from the inside, not by external stimuli. And the human condition really is that, perhaps not so much in the past, but certainly nowadays, the human condition is that we always want more. You know, we've got a 3-bedroom house, we want a 4-bedroom house. We've got a 4-bedroom house, we want a 5-bedroom house. We haven't got kids, so we really want kids. That one's sort of more naturalistic. But most of the wants that we want now are completely materialistic. We want that car, we want that watch, so it can look good on Instagram. We want to go away on this holiday, so we can photograph it. We want that promotion, so we can make that little bit extra money after tax and do God knows what with it. But of course, none of this actually brings us any closer to happiness. We're in a relationship that we're happy with, but we also miss being single. We're single, but we desperately want to be in a relation. None of this, having this constant want, this external stimuli of needing other people and other things to make us happy, when happiness is created from within. I read some accounts of when colonialists or conquerors, whatever you want to call them, first went over to North America, and the native Indians believed that the white man, as they called it, was crazy, mental, because of this constant restlessness, this constant need to be doing something, to be going somewhere, to be building something. Whereas in their culture, they were much more happy just to protect the traditional values and the way of life that they'd always had, and they were quite happy with that. And they thought that they were crazy. And this is the problem now, is this has now been on steroids through materialism, you know, which really sort of post-industrial revolution, getting into like the 1920s, 30s, 40s, really took a hold, particularly in America and then on throughout the rest of the world, this materialism, that we need to have all this stuff, that our whole purpose of our whole life is just to accumulate stuff, and that will somehow make us happy. I mean, I myself have been guilty of that way. I think we've all in the West been guilty of thinking that way, thinking that that next promotion will be happy. I've always had a dream of having a place in Ibiza, somewhere I can retire to, hopefully sooner rather than later. But the reality is actually that if you've got a loving partner, you've got friends, you've got family, you've got all these things, that is enough. I mean, if you've not got those things, it's all about what the thought environment that we create in our head in terms of whether we're happy or not, and the physiological reaction to our thought environment and the emotions that come up. So all of these things are essentially one thing. They're chasing joy. They are chasing joy, that when I get that promotion, I will be happy. When I have that place in Ibiza, that place in Spain, whatever, I will be happy. It's all chasing joy. But of course, happiness comes from within, and it comes from the way that our thoughts, and understanding that we are not our thoughts. We are the beingness, the person that sits behind the thoughts. You know, we have an opportunity that we are our own director, producer, performer in our own life story. And if necessary, you can make it until you can fake it until you can make it. You know, I've had situations in my life where I've been down, and what I've learned really through trial and error is that you get into that shower in the morning, and if you're happy or not, you start singing. You start singing, and you trick yourself into being happy, and then eventually the body does not know the difference. The body then will elicit the emotional, the physiological response to create the chemicals required, the serotonin, etc., dopamine, to make you feel happy. So it's about creating that thought environment. And Another thing I would say is that we all talk about and moan about the things that have happened to us, you know, but perhaps a life-changing formula that I learned when I went on the Ivy House London program, which I was very lucky, a leadership program that I was lucky to go on. E plus B equals R. That's event plus behavior equals result. Events are happening to us constantly. We can't control the events that happen to us, but we can control the behavior. We can control how we respond to those events, and that will then give us the output. That will then give us the result. I've talked on this channel before about thought spirals and how we can essentially get into these thought spirals, and something doesn't quite go our way in the morning, and then we think, oh God, I'm not having a good day now. And then another thing happens, oh, I really am unlucky today. And before you know it, we get into these negative thought spirals where we get more and more wound up, and then, or we can get down and depressed, and we can start thinking about one thing and that triggers another thing, and then you always end up with the worst thing you can possibly think of and dwell there for a while. It's about, sometimes if you get into that thought spiral, as I've said before, we need to physically step out of it, step out of the thought spiral. Another sort of metaphor you could use is thought helicopters. Thought helicopters. Imagine your mind and you've got all these red and blue helicopters, or they can be whatever colour you like, but negative and positive helicopters. I'm taking the red helicopters to be negative and the blue to be positive. Imagine these helicopters, they're all flying around your mind. As we have, thoughts come from nowhere. They're like bubbles that pop as you walk down the street. You walk into a bubble and you get a thought. They're things sort of gathered through our five senses, and we don't even know, and that mixes in with the subconscious of things that have happened in our learnt past, and we get thoughts, you know, but you're not your thoughts. You're the watcher, as Eckhart Tolle would say. You're the person behind the thoughts. You are the beingness. And we can choose which of these helicopters, positive or negative, that we want to focus on. We can decide, okay, I'm recognizing this thought, I'm acknowledging this thought, but I'm not going to let it sit with me. I'm going to let it fly off. And instead I'm going to absorb and take on some of the positive thoughts. You know, train yourself in, now on the last video I spoke about, which I'll link to at the end, we spoke about, not mantras, what am I trying to think of here? Affirmations. We thought about affirmations, and we spoke about affirmations and how you can create your own affirmations or something you can say to yourself in the morning to help create that thought environment. Because remember, how it works is we have a thought, our body then elicits an emotional response, and then our whole body its physiology can change around that. We can start, if we feel down all the time, we'll start to get aches and pains, we'll start to not feel so good in our body, because that's the way our body works. Think about it. With placebos, do you know how placebos work? Placebo isn't that someone takes a pretend pill for something an illness that they have, and just think that they're getting better. How it actually works is they believe they're getting better, and then their body, their own body, then creates the exact combination of chemicals required to fix that illness or fix that ailment. You are your own little mini chemist, and you can fix your mental health. You don't necessarily need to go to Big Pharma to fix your mental health. You have the power yourself. So, you know, we've become so obsessed with all this material stuff when the power is within us. If you were an animal, your only objective is to eat and to procreate. Once you've got it, if you've seen a dog, once it's got a full stomach, it'll lay down, it's quite happy. Well, if we were starving, it would be the same. Our only thought would be, where's our next meal coming from? Life's become too complicated because we're worried about this and that, and am I going to have this, and what's going to happen with this? We just need to focus on our own happiness and remember that happiness comes from within. You know, in my life, I've met a few multimillionaires, and actually, I can't say they're any happier than the average person. And the same is most likely for billionaires as well. You can have a certain level of ease and efficiency with having shelter and having food. But once that's met, after that, the happiness solely comes from within. So Remember, stop trying to fix everything. The way out is in, and we have the power to manage our own thought environment. I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I actually spoke to them twice in the space of about an hour and a half. The first time they're very happy, very jovial. An hour and a half later, they were very stressed. And that was very obvious that they were stressed, and then they apologized for being stressed. They said they're having a terrible day. Yet it'd only been an hour and a half since I last spoke to them. But in their mind, they were already labeling it as a terrible day. Well, if you label yourself as stressed, you're only going to get more stressed. And if you label yourself as being an unlucky person, then you're going to be putting that vibration out into the energetic field, into the magnetic field that exists. You know, we are all energy, and our aura, our energy goes off. And if we're putting out these vibrations, these negative vibrations, we're attracting negative things. If we're putting out a positive vibration, we're attracting positive things. So don't say, I'm stressed. Don't say, I'm unlucky. And remember, stressed is not knowing where your next meal is coming from. Most of the things that people say they are stressed over, it's not worth being stressed about. So, of course, there's other things we can do to help ourselves, not just in terms of meditation is obviously a big one. Also in terms of affirmations. But also, of course, it's about diet and it's about exercise. You know, if you're an unhappy person, and you're eating absolute rubbish and you're not doing any exercise, then there's half your problem. Get out, do some exercise, or inside do some exercise, and try and eat a healthier diet. Try yoga. You know, yoga's not just a set of different exercises. Yoga is a way of being. Yoga is a whole technology, really, for how to be, to how to align yourself with the sacred geometry of the universe. So it's about the diet, it's about the meditation. All these things can contribute to creating a better and more happier, more sustainable, more joyful environment. And once you've created that joy within yourself, your body will start to feel more relaxed. Some of those aches and pains will start to go away, because the emotional response and the physiological response will come from that. So just remember that all human life is 100% self-created. If you like my videos and you've not yet to subscribe, please do subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you get notified when I've got new videos out. And please smash the like button. Peace and love.